Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can contribute to AsyncAPI specification. And I'm going to talk about it mainly because I'm working on AsyncAPI full-time, and among all the different projects that I'm responsible for, I'm also a committer to spec repo where we have a specification. So I'm making sure that whatever happens in the spec, it's all done according to the contribution guide and respects the contribution guide. As simple as that. If you want to engage with me and you're afraid to do it in public, you're afraid to ask questions later in public, just grab my contact points and feel free to contact me later. But yes, so the plan for this talk is to first explain to you why you should care, why you should even consider contributing to the spec. If there are code owners that are responsible for it, then they probably do everything, right? Then I'm going to talk about a theory, like how the contribution looks like in theory, and then confront it a bit with the real-life examples of how the theory was implemented. But yeah, why you should care? I mean, we're not trying to convince everyone that we're smart here and we know everything that happens in the event-driven world. Of course, I have some experience. Like Fran has his experience from the past work with different patterns and different protocols. But in event-driven architectures, the amount of protocols is tremendous. The amount of different patterns, it's huge. So to be an expert in each, to have hands-on experience in production with each, it's basically impossible. And we're not going to pretend we have this knowledge. We don't. And that's why we need you to contribute. We need you to bring your request for changes, to show your use cases, to explain how you use the tool in production and how the spec should be improved, because you can't do everything with the AsyncAPI specification at the moment. Or there's something broken in the specification. So don't count on us, we're counting on you. So please, consider contribution. Now, we're not gonna drive your car, but we definitely are here to make sure that the road you're driving on is clear and safe. So at the moment, we're kind of facilitators. We make sure that you can go smoothly through the process as much as possible. Sometimes we might jump with you into your car, help you out with your solution end to end, like take it over and implement. It might happen. I'm not saying no. There are also some complex topics like publish-subscribe confusion, where Fran, that is a committer in the project, had to go into driver's seat and include as many people as possible in the discussion and drive it forward. So sometimes we drive topics, but most cases we'll like Morpheus. We're just gonna give you different options. We're gonna advise you what you can do here, what is the what's gonna happen if you take the red pill, and what's gonna happen with the other one, how it is going to affect others, and how it's going to affect you and other tools as well. We might help choose you the right doors, advise you, tell you what direction to take, what's the best one. But in the end, you're the driver, and we're not gonna try to push you out of the driving seat. We're not perfect. Like the foundation, when we joined foundation, we joined in March. Before that, we had no processes really for changing things in the spec. We set it up everything like this year. So we're still polishing, we're still adjusting and making sure that the work is smooth. So there are no perfect things here, and we're not gonna claim you're wrong. We're super open to help and improve. So I think it's good to encourage you to contribute in an environment where nobody's trying to play smart. We're always gonna work around the contribution guide. But if there's some error in the contribution guide, let us know. just we're really open to your ideas. But yeah, I encourage you a lot to contribute, but I want to transparently tell you, you have to be patient. It requires a lot of work and a lot of time. No change in the spec can happen in a week or 1 month. There's a lot of discussion involved. So in like every other open source project, it's not so easy to push things and merge them if you're not working in the project. But here, the main motivation why it takes so much time is that because we have to think really close about every single new thing we add. Because even small change that will fix your use case can break all the others. Okay, so let's talk about a contribution guide in theory. Everyone likes theory, right? So go grab your coffee and I'm gonna finish in a few minutes. So principles, like we have some basic principles in the contribution guide. So first one is like favor no change. So basically it's really on you, like it's on you to prove that you add value to the spec. Because we always will have an approach like if you can do something with the spec at the moment, different way, but it's it can solve your use case, then we're always gonna favor the old solution. We will always favor as well as simplicity over expressiveness, consistency in the spec. So if there's some part of the spec that has some different solution for a problem, some specific solution for a problem, and we want to improve something in another section of the spec, we will try to map the same approach to make it as less confusing for spec users as possible. So we'll always push this on pull requests. We'll always push also to ask you to consider like make the solution, like even the simple implementation, open for extensibility, like that we want to that whatever you add something, it can be easily extended, and not that we want to improve it next release and it's gonna cause breaking change. Understandability, which basically means, remember, the spec file, it's a markdown file written as a block of text for humans. So we need to always be super clear as much as possible. So sometimes we might be super picky on words, but it's for the good of the humans. Humans are cool, by the way. Last but not least, use cases. That's one of our huge pain points here. Event-driven architectures are mostly used internally. There are some protocols that are, it's kind of common that APIs are public, like WebSockets. In IoT, it might be MQTT. But in others, some of it, but I would say majority of it, is internal. And people don't like to share much internal stuff. So, but we need to fix it. Like, for many cases, like now when we do improvements, we're blind. Like we don't really know how much it's gonna affect others. We need you in the project. We need your involvement. You need to share the use cases, and you as a person that contributes always have to also research other use cases to see how others will do it. And we're here to help. We want to also have a good database of use cases. So that's principle that you have to follow when you contribute. But yeah, we're gonna help as much as possible. Now, in the contribution guide, we have a something like request for change or champions. So some details. When you contribute, request for change is just an issue or pull request. We have templates for it. Just keep in mind that we favor pull request more, even though it's strange. But basically, if you already have an idea how to solve something, like your request for change is not just giving us a heads up, like saying like something is wrong for a given use case. But if you already have, it's something is wrong and I know how to fix it, then please open up PR. show in the spec how it's going to change because of your proposal. It's much easier to interact and review this way. Make sure you're always doing what's required by the contribution guide. Of course, we as a committers, we have to look into contribution guide and make sure that every request for change follows. But the more pull requests we get, the more requests for change, and we're gonna be slowed down. So high quality is a key here. If you take care about the quality of the request for change as much as possible, it's gonna speed up things. Yeah, there's a champion, so-called a person that drives the topic to get it into a stage that gets it into the spec and releases. The champion does not have to be one for a project. There can be several champions. There can be champion for different stages, but there has to be someone who's making sure that everything is done properly and all the comments are addressed and the reference implementation is done in the tools that we require. So make sure that if you're not a request for change submitter, make it clear that you don't want to champion it because you simply don't have time to do it. And don't feel sad that you come in, make a request for change, but you say you can't drive it forward. We still care about your request for change, and others might too. There might be people that want to become committers in the spec. They want to help. They just don't have ideas how given use case could be improved. But if you have some idea, like you have some request for change, just do it. Like maybe somebody else will jump in and drive it for you. That happened in the past, but we're gonna get to it. So, but yeah, basically, champion is not the same person that request for change submitter. It's exchangeable role, and there can be multiple. So there are different stages when you contribute to the spec. My favorite one is Strowman. Yeah, it's that's how it basically looks like. We have a new proposal, a new request for change actually, and yeah, we try to understand what's the use case, asking some follow-up questions, asking for examples, asking for more justification for a given change, suggestion like move from issue to pull request. There's a lot of things happening on the Strowman level, and it takes time. Once we have all these things cleared out, we go into the proposal, where we want explicitly to have a change in a pull request with some initial stuff that will change. And we also want to already have a reference implementation in the AsyncAPI JSON schema and the parser to see how it would be implemented in the most basic tooling possible. And then of course we, again, back and forth, discuss, check, suggest how things could be done better. And then we go into draft, which kinda is almost good, but not necessarily. It's a stage where we're almost ready with everything. We just need to review, have a final look, and see if that's what should get into the spec. Then just accept, relax, grab coffee, and have some rest, because it was definitely, with every request for change, long ride, and you deserve the rest. There is a stage that is described as rejected, but we've never used it, so I'm not going to talk about it more. You just remember that, like, it's all about collaboration, and rejection only comes in if there's a collaboration only from one side of the table. So if there's no champion and nobody reacts to follow-ups questions for the release request for change, that's something that will most probably get rejected. But yeah, theory, I hope you already came back with your coffee, because now we're going to talk about a real life. So again, in real life, it really takes time. For example, that proposal from Gerald. So Gerald decided to champion a request for change to get some solution into the spec that can solve a problem that like before 2.2 release, you could only describe your application with servers that all had to implement the same protocol, because there was no way to wire to connect channels with a specific server only. And many people asked, many people knew it has to be improved, but then Gerald jumped in and proposed to make things better. So he submitted an initial request for change at the end of April. And in the end, he got his proposal into accepted stage at the end of September. So it took 4 months. 4 months of a lot of work and a lot of discussions. But yeah, it was worth it anyway. Now, some stages can be skipped. Like we have some stages described in the contribution guide, but it's a theory that sets some kind of process. But like in this case, if like Gerald was super motivated and worked hard on the proposal, and was so advanced on a proposal level stage that it was okay to jump directly to accept it. There was no need for changing the labels in GitHub because how engaged we all were here. It is hard to engage community. Getting a use case and getting comments from community is on your side. But we're gonna help you. As I said, we're facilitating. So if there's a good proposal, we're happy to see it, but we would like to hear others. We're gonna use AsyncAPI official channels to promote. But also, you have to take some actions. Like if that's not enough, like in case of Marek and his proposal, come to one of the community meetings, present your request for change, get feedback from others, talk openly about it, basically promote the request for change. And don't worry about the release schedule. We set up a release schedule that where we regularly release 4 times a year. So like in case of Gerald, he created a proposal at the end of April, but he couldn't make it for June. There were too many open questions. But yeah, I mean, just a few months later, it was okay for September. He didn't have to wait like 1 year or 2 years more for next release cycle. So don't feel pressured by, by the fact that the release can take long. Just focus on RFC to make it best possible. Release is a complex topic. It took us 3 hours last time to release spec and the reference tools. We're automating a lot as much as possible. But I think the most important for you is that it is also a collaborative work and anybody from the community can engage. There's a release coordination needed for every release. Anybody can be a release coordinator, anybody can volunteer. And that's what happened now. So 2.1 and 2.2 release, I was the release coordinator, but for 2.3, Elaine volunteered to do the release coordination, and it's also best thing to contribute to the project, because this way Dale will learn every single part of the process and many different people involved, and we'll have like the same knowledge that I have and Fran have in the project, and he's like the best candidate for the code owner. So yeah, I mean, it takes time, but just think about others. Like, first of all, like again, this example with Gerald, like you're fixing your use case, but it's not just your use case. you're helping many different community members. So be one of the brave ones. Take things forward and help us out. Thank you. Now, there are some links you could have a look at. The first one is the list of meetings that we're hosting. So if you want to join one, talk about your RFC, please do it. There's a document that describes the release process, a document with contribution guide that I talked about. And if you're interested with how the release looks like, have a look on this YouTube video, but I don't recommend it. And last but not least, there's a specification channel in Slack that you should definitely join if you want to work with us longer. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching and listening. And I hope to see you later somewhere in Slack or other areas where community engages. And see you in RFC, in spec repo. Cheers. Bye.